Welcome to peacepodcast.org. Think about that, peacepodcast.org. And you see behind me the words peace is possible. I almost feel like let's take the word possible out and let's just say peace is. So much peace is already on our planet, but so much peace has potential to even enter into places where maybe it isn't so peaceful. And that's why I do Peace Podcasts, for peace, mutually assured survival, and a healthy planet. Just think, if we have peace on our planet, the joy we will have and the happiness we will have to be able to wake up in the morning and feel secure that I am going to be able to live my destiny. My friend in Costa Rica I was talking to yesterday said, 2023 is a very special year. And anybody who's alive in 2023 is going to be experiencing peace beyond their wildest dreams. And so that's why I invited Anniela, and I'm going to pronounce your last name, Carracedo, and her, AKA Annie. So I'm going to be calling her Annie today. I got to meet Annie because of her talents. She is an intern, and she should be the president of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, but she is an intern with our social media group. And that's where I got to watch this woman shine. She shines. I was telling her when I started to read about her, what she has been doing in programs like the program for World Beyond War, a member of the World Beyond War Youth Network, External Relations Chair, liaison with the board and the Youth Network. She is from Venezuela. Now, that's the sad part. Maybe that's what formed her, because she was in Venezuela during the uprising, and it was she who got past the uprising, joined the Model UN, joined the Rotary Club, Rotary. Tell me all the things you've been involved with Rotary, Anniela.
They are just a lot. I started as an interactor. I started when I was 16 in the Interact Club of Valencia, my hometown, and my parents then joined Rotary. So we joined the Rotary family together. After Interact, I did my Rotary Youth Exchange in the US, in Southern Mississippi. In Youth Exchange, I got involved in my Interact Club in the States as well. And then after that the pandemic started, I just got involved in Rotary in every single thing that there is in the district level and the zone. And there, of course, the Rotary Action Group for Peace. My friends and I started a youth network in Rotary, and we are 900 students from 80
That's what
different
I can't get
countries.
over. You started a youth network during the pandemic when everybody else was saying, oh, no, I can't do anything. Do you think
Yes.
Anniela said, no, oh, no, I can't do anything?
Yeah, no, it was just so it's a crazy story actually. Well, the COVID pandemic started and I was stuck in the US as a foreign exchange student because I wasn't able to go home because of the situation in Venezuela. But so as I said, I was in Interact and I knew a couple of people in Interact in Venezuela and in the US and a couple of other countries. And we decided to do something. We couldn't, as Paul Harris would have done, we said, we need to take action. We need to gather our ideas. So it started as a Zoom meeting. And it grew to be a youth network, and it's incredible. It's just out of the world. We went to Houston and presented a breakout session in the Houston Convention, the
That
Rotary
was our
International
World
Convention.
Peace Convention in Houston. And you started the Rotary Youth Network.
Yes. Yes, we call it RYLA now, and I'm very happy to have an amazing team. And I'm not part of the board anymore. I'm just an advisor, so that's great.
And you are a member of
Sure, I
the
understand.
so many different committees. I mean, I just, when I put her on today, when I picked up my Peace podcast, I said, you're a rock star. How have you done so much? You're only 21 years old. So let me ask you a question. Do you think you're growing up in Venezuela in the midst of the political and social crisis contributed to the passion you have, and you are a passionate woman, for peace?
Absolutely. Um, when I was born in 2001, and it's what I think it's the beginning of the crisis, and I had the opportunity to see the country going bad and worse and worse and worse. But I I want to believe that I was always in a little bubble created by my parents, where everything was okay, and we were doing stuff for the community, and we were creating good in the community, even though outside we had protests and we didn't have electricity and we didn't have running water. In our house was like a net of a hub of ideas of how are we gonna do this better from two different perspectives, because my dad, he was in the military and he's a security guy, and my mom was a lawyer, and very creative. So it's and then we started going to the community center in Caracas, which is the capital, and it's just the greatest thinkers of Venezuela. We just gather there to make Venezuela a better place. And it's it's great to see it from far, and see the story of how it was hard and it was complicated, but we were always trying to do good.
Well, you were a high school student during this period, weren't you? So tell me about that. You were telling me earlier in our pre-conversation, you said, I was bored in high school. And what saved you?
The model of UN. This, I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's basically a simulation of the sessions of the United Nations. And the students did, well, we did it in high school, but it's usually college. And we learn every single conference about a different topic, and we were in a different commission or committee in the UN representing.
It's like the General Assembly, right? You were the General Assembly.
Yeah, sometimes we were specialized committees. Sometimes we got to be in the Security Council, for example, or the UNESCO or UNICEF. I was always with human rights and good things. I did not like the Security Council. I never went there because it was always war and things, and it was not my thing. But it's really cool. It was awesome to represent different countries, and sometimes countries that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I needed to represent their best interests, and it was really cool. I love that. I did it for 5 years, and I was mentioning I was very, very bored in high school, and I didn't like it, but I spent most of my time in the Mall of UN. So it's really cool experience.
Well, I was telling Annie that we went to Texas because in Arlington, Texas, they started the Robert Mueller School, and they have the Model Elementary United Nations. 10,000 students in 31 years have gone through this model education for elementary. Model United Nations bring in the power of the United Nations. And if you don't understand it, go to the Model UN and just take a look at what can be done. UCSB here in Santa Barbara has a Model UN, and it is a powerful one. Now, Annie, you had the ultimate gift. You were elected Secretary General. What was that like?
Oh, it's great. When I started high school, I wanted to be Secretary General of the conference of my school. And it was very competitive because there's one Secretary General every year, and there are 20, 30 students in every class wanting to be Secretary General. But I just built my mind into it, and I went to every single conference that there was, and I attended, and I got elected to be. And what it means is that I was kind of the higher authority on that year in my school. And I also got to organize a Model of UN. I got to organize a conference, and mine was supposed to be in 2019. And 2019 was the year where Venezuela went completely nuts, and we had 2 presidents, 2 Congress, and 2 Supreme Courts. And that was my senior year. Half of my senior year we spent in our houses because there were protests outside, and we couldn't go outside. It was crazy. And the week that I was supposed to be the Secretary General of the Model of UN, we spent a week without electricity. And it was a great challenge to organize an event for 400 students in a hyperinflation. We had to do everything. We had to do the fundraiser, the organizing the committees and the topics and everything. But we had a great team, and we pulled it through, and it was great. It was great. And we involved.
Yeah, nothing stopped Annie. Nothing stopped Annie in the Model UN committee. And that's what it takes to bring peace. Don't let anything get in your way. Keep going, right, Annie? What's your advice for people in turmoil?
Yeah, I think it's always gonna be hard. The thing is, how do you adapt to the situation and how do you make the best out of it? For example, we couldn't do the Model of UN that weekend because we didn't have electricity the week before, so we weren't ready. And we completely transformed how our city understood the Model of UN. We added Rotary. I was in the Interact club at that time, so we did a service project during the Model of UN. We invited people to bring their own bottles of water, so we didn't use plastic. We didn't generate any plastic during that weekend. We changed it. We changed everything, and it was very disruptive, and everybody was thought it was great because we had to adapt, and it was a great learning experience. And I was 17 years old doing this, and now I feel like nothing can stop me. I feel like if I did that when I was 17, I can do whatever.
That's the spirit. And Annie, you have the spirit. You know, Rotary has that spirit. I've seen you in our meetings, and you know, you don't step back if our group of people older than 40 say something that you're not in. You'll raise your little hand, you know, the little hand at the bottom, raise your hand, and you'll say, I'm thinking, and we pay attention because Annie realizes the value of her opinion. She doesn't hold back. She brings her opinion. And that's what, if I were to give our younger generation any advice, do what Maya Angelou said. Words are wonderful on paper, but it's the human voice that makes them come alive. As you're listening to Annie, her voice is just like a goal. It says, okay, now go. You can do this. Anybody can do this. If I can do this, it's your time. And this is what I want people to get. Now, Annie, Rotary and the Model United Nations have a lot in common. Have you noticed that?
Yes. And I just recently did. I realized that a lot of people, especially in the youth network, the majority of us serving in a leadership position have been in the Model of UN at some point. And we didn't know that. We are from different countries, different backgrounds. We didn't know each other before, but we realized that the majority of us have been in some form involved in the Model of UN. And we realized that the Model of UN is the theory. We learn about the word, we learn about the word problems, and we learn how to solve that or how to try, how to write resolutions, how to write proposals, and then we go to Rotary and we have the opportunity to actually execute these projects and not say, okay, we are very concerned about the human rights of kids in Yemen. With Rotary, we say we're gonna do this with these resources and these structures to take action and to do something about it. So it's great. And there's actually a Rotary Model of UN that they meet every year. I don't think they have done it since COVID, but I think there's a lot of potential to reach the Model of UN and Rotary.
Oh, I agree with you because my husband was Assistant Secretary General at the UN, and we would go to these model UNs. And what I found was that there was so much similarity, and we would speak to Rotary clubs, and we would then go speak at the Model United Nations, and then we go speak at her, and there was so much similarity because people want peace, and you have to work for it. It's not going to happen just because you want it, and you may have to do it. Annie did have to put up with a lot of no electricity, put up with no microphones, and maybe figure out a new way to do something because you're a Rotary Youth Exchange too. How has that worked for you, Rotary Youth Exchange?
Oh, so when I was 17, my parents and I decided that I was gonna become an exchange student through Rotary. So I left Venezuela to come to southern Mississippi and learn English. I didn't speak English when I came here in 2019, and I went to a high school here in America and learn about the culture and learn and get immersed in the American culture and share a little bit of the Venezuelan culture here. It was a great experience. I learned a lot about myself. I learned how to be independent, how to solve my own problems because I didn't have my mom to do it, and it was great. And I made lifelong friendships and my American family is now my own family. And it just opened the world of Rotary to me. I learned about Rotary really through my exchange. It was great.
Rotary is an amazing organization, and it gives you a sense of belonging, and the Youth
Yes.
Exchange gives you a bigger sense of belonging. in a trusting way that you can learn about a new culture and learn about a new country. And it's just beautiful. And so, Annie, I've been trying to bridge the gap between my 105 podcasts and the youth today, because there's so much wisdom. And you said you've been listening to them. And what have you gotten out of it? And how can we bridge that gap? It's almost like we want to build the little bridge and say, come on over. And then I want to hear what you think about these different podcasts. So like if we were to take, let's just take somebody who's already been on these podcasts and maybe have a youth group listen to them and tell me what they got out of it. So what is your thinking?
Yeah, I love listening to your podcast. I especially love the one with Dr. Todd Jenkins.
Oh, wasn't he great? Dr.
About
Todd Jenkins. Bowtie
love the
Jenkins.
Bowtie. Yes. He's also my big brother. He's one of my mentors, and I just love listening to him and love the conversation that you guys had. I think they are great conversation. It's just a matter of putting it in the radar of youth. So how do we reach them, right? What are the communications that we use? I use Instagram and TikTok. So it just put it in youth faces and in words.
He's
I
a
think
perfect example, isn't he? You could go on Instagram and get people to watch Bowtie, which would bring them into the podcast, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Let's make that experiment happen. Let's see what we can do. Okay, keep talking.
Yeah, I can, well, whenever we finish this, I'll post a picture on my stories and say, hey, everybody just go and listen to the podcast and find a way to do it. Another way is I think through education to institutions, maybe college or high schools that they learn about peace. They can use this as a case study, so to speak, and we can listen to it in a class and then comment. That might be an option. But yeah, I think Instagram and for the even younger generation than mine, TikTok is the way to go.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. So Annie, I always ask at the end of these podcasts, what's your dream for the planet, and what would you like to say? And where can we find out more about you?
I would love just a word of peace, a word of compassion, and where everybody's empowered and unlocking their power to take action to change things that they don't like. Um, yeah, I really, really hope peace for Venezuela, especially, and stability for Venezuela and for all the countries that are going through tough times. Sadly, they are a lot. Um, but we're working on it. There are good people everywhere, doing good things. I am on Facebook and is Anniela Carracedo, and on Instagram is Anniela.ca. I'm also on TikTok. It is Annie.Rotary, so that's an easy one.
And you're also on World Beyond War. And when I went
Yes.
to World Beyond War, I said, this is a rock star. Annie has done so much. And they just go throughout her 5 years of high school, she participated in the Model United Nations, attended 20 conferences, the majority of which were stimulating the functioning of the UN committees, peace, human rights, and related humanitarian issues. That's Annie in a nutshell. So go to World Beyond War and put in Anniela, Anniela, Carracedo. Say your last name.
Carracedo.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? Carracedo, aka Annie. Now, Annie, we want to know, what is it that motivates you, gives you this energy, this spark that you can do more than any youth I know?
I think all of us can do it. We just need to unlock the power that there is within us. And it's finding that makes us passionate and finding that little motor that makes us go. And in mine, I think it's to help really. Because of the struggle that I've lived through, I really want to help not just Venezuela, but everybody else that's going through tough stuff. But I feel like we just need to unlock the power of youth. We need to give us a platform to do something, and guide us through the process. That's what I think.
Isn't that beautiful? Launch the power of youth. Today we began something new. We're going to launch the power of youth through, and Annie as such a model for that. I'm Barbara Gahn-Mueller, and you've been listening to Annie. And I know you're going to ask your friends to sit down and listen to Annie with you so that you can have a conversation. What can you do with the situation you're facing today? She was in Venezuela when they didn't even have electricity. And in Venezuela, when there were two different presidents, two different governments trying to monopolize the people who were just wanting to eat breakfast together, live together, have peace together. So, things are not always perfect, but if you look at Annie, you see that maybe I have a choice. And I think Annie always took that choice. So Annie, is there a last word from you today to motivate the world to take your power and use it?
Thank you, Barbara. I want to thank you for the invitation and thank everybody who's listening. And just try to adapt and do the best we can. Thinking about everybody, thinking how it affects everybody else. And yeah, I think so.
I have granddaughters. One looks just like you. And I am so proud of the youth today because I think you're the people that we've been waiting for. And people say that, but I'm serious. We are really fortunate that you didn't give up. You didn't blame anybody for what happened. You got to work. You went to the Model UN, and here you are today as a stellar, and I am not exaggerating, Rotarian. I've seen her work with the RAGs. I've seen the newsletter that she produces for the Rotary Action Group for Peace. And I'm going to be putting your picture up on our board of directors, but first we have to nominate you and elect you because I want you. All right, darling. Thank you so much. And I'm Barbara Gahn-Mueller, and aren't we excited to have Annie today? And I thank you with my heart. And be sure you go to Spotify, go on Instagram, pay attention. Bowtie Jenkins is incredible, who was one of her mentors. And I'm Barbara Gahn-Mueller. Thank you. Go to peacepodcast.org. See you next week.